This week on Inside the Investigations, a school district is facing criticism after it determined it was not bullying when football players put peanuts in their allergic teammates' locker.
KXAN investigative reporter Kelly Wiley reveals out of the hundreds of complaints the state regulator receives about bullying issues, very rarely does it intervene. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on KXAN Live. Will Dupree coming to you from the KXAN Live studio for this week's edition of Inside the Investigations, where we deep dive into one of our big stories that our investigative team has reported this week. And as usual, we're joined by investigative reporter Kelly Wiley. Kelly, we are focusing on one of your stories today, so thanks for joining us yet again.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited that we get to talk about this.
The intro to the show just mentioned this particular story, but I want to bring up the headline really quickly so that we can remind people about what we're talking about here. Again, this reads, teammates put peanuts in allergic student's locker. District said it wasn't bullying. Kelly, when you began reporting on this story, I just want to mention how much care was put into this because it is a very sensitive topic involving children here in our community. And we heard so much from viewers after this incident was initially come to light. The mother in this particular case spread the word about this, and it quickly got around in the community there. And so many people within the school district's community reached out to us to ask us to look into it. So let's just start with what happened in this incident.
Right, so we started hearing about this in our office in November, but it actually happened in October. The school district said peanuts were placed in a student's locker and he had the beginnings of an allergic reaction. The reason why we were inundated with complaints a month later was because the mom of this student actually had gone to the school board. That's recorded, it's in front of the public, and she confronted the school board with not only what happened, but also what happened later and what happened before. This mom told the school board that yes, her son, who's severely allergic to peanuts and has been since he was a baby, looked in his locker and there were peanuts in there, and he has started to have hives come up his arms. He's managed his allergy for a long time, so he was able to go wash his hands before it got in his eyes and mouth and triggered a more severe reaction. However, the student later told his mom, and mom told us, that he'd actually articulated to his teammates just how allergic he was, just really right before the incident. His teammates asked, how allergic are you? And the mom says, he said, very. It could severely harm me. It could be fatal for me. And then this happened. And mom was mostly talking to the administration. She was mostly saying, hey, I don't think this incident was handled properly by school officials. And that's really what she was zoned in on. The school district says it decided not to press charges after consulting with the district attorney. They did discipline the students, but we understand they were suspended from a couple of football games. And that's really where mom is upset. She felt like the policy said that both the school administration needed to issue discipline, but then also the extracurricular discipline should run alongside that. It shouldn't be the only discipline. So that was her main sticking point. But also we learned up until this point where she went in front of the school board, the school district had not started a bullying investigation. They had launched an investigation over what happened, but they hadn't actually launched an investigation to figure out if this met the definition of bullying.
I want to play a portion of your investigative piece that everybody can view in full on our website right now at KXAN.com. But this focuses on this mother's ability to speak in front of the school board and what she shared during that message. And we'll continue our conversation on the other side. But just listen in to this beginning of Kelly's investigative piece.
Shauna Mannon.
Fueled by frustration, mother of three, Shauna Mannon stepped in front of the Lake Travis ISD School Board in November.
I want to start off by saying we're huge supporters of the athletic programs at Lake Travis High School.
Weeks before, her son, a sophomore varsity football player who's allergic to peanuts, found his locker filled with them just before the season opener game.
As he grabbed the uniform, peanuts fell out everywhere. He noticed hives started to develop on his arm almost immediately.
The incident unfolded just a day after she says her son's teammates questioned him.
asking about his allergy to peanuts and asked if it could kill him if it were to touch him. Or would it kill him if they put them in his cleats or in his uniform? He said, yes, it absolutely could.
Manning says she didn't speak to the school board to ridicule the boys responsible. Instead, to address the way school leaders dealt with the incident.
These boys were handed minimal consequences for their actions.
Manning says the district allowed the athletic director and head football coach, not administrators, to suspend the boys from a few games. When we asked Lake Travis ISD why, it said the district's code of conduct allowed administrators and coaches to work together to determine discipline.
And we're back now in our KXAN live studio, continuing our conversation with investigative reporter Kelly Wiley. Again, that's a portion of your story that goes on for 7 more minutes exploring this particular issue. But obviously the mother's emotions are pretty raw there in sharing what happened to her son. What is the next step that came once she spoke in front of the school board?
Yeah, so once she spoke in front of the school board, this district had not yet initiated investigation into the bullying component of this. And so they did, and what they found, or what they determined, was that it did not meet the legal definition of bullying, which triggered her to essentially file a grievance with the school district because she did not agree. But they determined in the end that they didn't feel what happened met the definition of bullying.
Okay, so we know there is concern over whether the school district handled this incident well, but your story also looks at what happens when parents or community members do not think the school district is handling these issues properly. Where can they turn next?
Well, it's a complicated answer. School districts are meant to be local and independent, in the name, independent school district. And they can write their own policies. They can write their own rules. There are state laws that can supersede policies, right? Like state law trumps local. But in this area, the laws around bullying, specifically discipline, tell districts usually what they can do, but not what they have to do.
Okay, explain that a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
Well, districts in Texas have to go by the state definition of bullying. That is true. And they are mandated to create bullying policies. They're mandated to have task forces on school campuses that address bullying, create surveys where they ask their students, what their experience with safety and bullying is. However, there is very vague language around the consequences for bullying. So we found the state has received more than 500 complaints since 2021 about bullying issues at local districts and charter schools. Most of these issues, and these complaints can be things like, I don't think the district handled this properly. I think they determined this wasn't bullying, and I think it is. It's those type of complaints that are coming in. But we found most of these complaints get sent back to the local district to be handled in a local grievance with the school district. The state is essentially saying, you guys need to work this out on the local school district level. And rarely is the state stepping in and saying the district has to make changes, right? Where they're mandating the district to make changes. And they cannot, so never are they going to tell a district how to handle discipline, according to TEA. The state regulator says they do, TEA in this case, they say they don't have the authority to do that.
And I just want to go back and talk about how sensitive this particular story that kicked off this investigation and that you really focused it on, and maybe kind of some of the thought that went into carefully reporting this out.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, this has to do with kids. So, we do want to say in this case, we're more so trying to take a look at the state structure of this. What is in place to help parents, help schools, help students overall create and maintain a safe environment? That was really our focus. What are the guardrails here? What are the laws on the books? And this case is just kind of an example of what this can look like when parents, the school district, other families don't agree. So one thing I do want to say, and from my understanding, the kids all involved in this story have apologized. So that's one thing that I do want to say. I know this brings up a lot of emotion and people can relate, and bullying is a pervasive issue. And again, this has not even been determined to be bullying by the school district. But I do want to say that these are kids involved, and from my understanding, they've apologized and are trying to move forward as teammates. The kid in this case did not need medical attention. Again, I mentioned earlier, he was able to manage his allergy. He immediately realized what was going on, according to his mom, washed his hands, and really was able to mitigate a more severe allergy had it gotten in his eyes or in his mouth. So I also wanted to say that. It is worth noting, moving forward, TEA has looked at this case. The district let me know that after TEA's review of everything that happened, TEA determined that the district had addressed all concerns concerning potential bullying and food allergy compliance, and they found no violation of law or policy. But to put that in context, TEA is only going to look at compliance with existing laws. So questions that we may be asking at home, things that may make sense to us when we look at the situation, we have to understand that TEA is looking at what state policies exist now and have any of those been violated. And in this case, they said no.
Investigative reporter Kelly Wiley, thank you so much for joining us, and you can check out her story right here over on the investigation section on our website at KXAN.com, as well as the KXAN News mobile app. It's available for you to peruse and view and read in its entirety right there, so I'll send you that way too. But Kelly, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it, and we will see you back here next Wednesday morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, that is Kelly Wiley. I'm Will Dupree. We will see you back here later today with other updates, so please stay with us. Hope you all stay safe and healthy out there. Take care.